Okay, here we go with the second installment, this first point. By the way, the four of you had so many good situations or opportunities that you created on your court Thursday by getting that ball deep. And here's just another indication of it right here. Beautiful combination. Let's take a closer look at this one. It's such a good point. So right off the bat, just what I really love here are two things. One is the execution of the shot. Okay, Anita knows what she does. The moment that ball leaves her racket, look at how both Dawn and Anita, how they react off of that. Just hustling in there and right up to your service line. Ball comes up. Mary plays a good lob up the center. Again, that's a tough overhead to hit for a winner for any level of player. And Dawn does a good job of getting some pace on this. Janet throws up another lob that little on the short side, and Dawn knows what to do with this ball. She's targeted this area. She knows what to do. And kaboom, winning shot, just well executed, just everything that we've been talking about. So let's move this forward into the next situation. There it is again. My God, Dawn is just on fire here. It's so nice on the court to have a plan. She goes deep, pushes Mary a little bit off her baseline, and you can see her retreating back a little bit, goes in immediately in behind it. Little hesitation here from Anita on the situation, and this is what sometimes just understand that your opponent, or not your opponent, your partner, a lot of times sees things that you don't see. And if your partner's firing in there, why not follow your opponent or your partner and go on in with her? And so right off the bat, there's that ball into the center, and she's able to play that volley back across her body and into the alley for a winner. Just a superb job there. Well done. Okay, now as I said earlier, we don't make them all, and Dawn chooses to get on the attack here and actually has a pretty fair volley to work with. She just doesn't execute it, but boy, when you're converting, let's say 2 out of 3, 66%, that would beat anybody on the court. So knowing that you did the right thing to put yourself into position and give yourself an opportunity is the thing that you want to come away with. Okay, there's Dawn taking it out of the air.
Okay, in you go. Up you go, Mary.
There you go. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's break that down once again. Okay, so at the beginning of the point, it's pretty much in neutral. Nobody's pushing anybody back.
Okay,
there's the ball right there, deep up the center. And one thing to take a look at when you're in Janet's position, as I've encouraged you in the past, it's okay to take a little glance back at your partner. Immediately get your eyes back and notice where your opponents are on the court, because that'll dictate your position. And right now, Janet's getting caught a little bit on her switch. Really hasn't given herself enough time, but she's able to get back into the point. But for the most part, Anita and Mary have control of this point. And I think there was a volley error off of that. So, good job, everybody. Let's move on to our next point. Wow. My goodness. This is great stuff. That is so good that, what Mary's doing here, and Don did it earlier, that the moment that ball leaves your racket, you know how good of a shot it is. And if we look over here at Anita, she's got to be ready to go. Whenever you're in that position, your partner's hitting a ball, and if they take the lead and attack, the problem with this is when you have one partner that's going in and one that sits back, this gap between the two of you gets larger and larger, and it's not that you have to go side by side. Being slightly staggered, moving through the court is actually a better thing to do, but minimizing the space in between the two of you is a result of it. So here she is. Now Anita's on the attack. Sends back. Janet's got a tough volley from the toilet, puts it up, and Anita takes care of business with her overhead. Really well done. If you notice, there's a common theme in all these points, and that is basically getting the ball sooner than later over to the other side of the net, not allowing your opponent's time to get into the point. Okay, there it is.
Okay.
Boy, something very subtle here. The point starts off, and we have, a generic ground stroke, but, average depth. It's not going to push anybody back. Anita plays a similar ball back, just a nice ball cross court, not anything that's going to push her opponent back. And then watch what this ball does. I want you to look at where Anita is on the baseline right now. And watch what this ball subtly does, and Janet picks up on this. And you can see how she just backs away subtly from the baseline. She's backed up about 5 to 7 feet. And Janet over here has used that visual cue to her advantage and has moved in. And guess what? Done deal. That was so beautifully done. Well done. Let's move on to our next point.
Okay, go.
Man, that's one of those when you miss it, you wish you would have made the shot. This is a really good point again. We're trying to create that situation of pushing your opponent back. And here's Mary back behind the baseline. Let's see what she hits off of that. She hits that deep ball up the center. That's so hard to get any pace on it. And Dawn is probably about 7 or 8 feet behind her baseline, and Mary has followed that in beautifully and joined Anita up at the net. Let's see what she does with this. She plays it back to the person who has the least amount of time. That's the kind of ball that if it's played back to Dawn's side of the court over here, that's when you see that lob that frustrates you, everybody. And by going at this person, you can see Janet's about 10 feet or so in front of her baseline, and typically people aren't going to lob out of that situation as much. And so the ball is popped up, and now Mary gets a little excited here and kind of overcooks this volley. And gosh darn it, I did everything right. How did I miss that volley? That's okay. Have fun with that. Again, you're creating opportunities for yourself, and that's the main message out here is if you convert the majority of them, the score will be fine. Let's move on to one more point in this installment. And let's see what happens. Oh, right. Now, it looks like, nothing happened during that point, but there is something that plays into this, and I'd like you to notice this. This is so cool. So up to this point, we've seen that when someone has hit the high ball, the person returning it is always backed up and let it bounce. If you ever find that in a match your opponents are hitting that ball and putting you back on your heels, obviously the way to neutralize that shot is to move up and take it out of the air. So Janet's intent is, I'm going to hit that ball high and deep to the corner of the court. I'm going to come in and put that volley away. Anita's not going to let that happen. And I like how she responded. She moved up inside of her baseline. And even though she misses this shot, understand this, position-wise, that's the right thing to do. And as far as making that shot, that's, everybody has their gig on this. Some people like to take a swinging volley off of that. Some people are more conventional in their approach to that volley. But it really goes back to one thing, and that is practicing more volleys in this area of the court, and where you learn to understand, how do I need to play this ball? Because once you take this ball out of the air, you can see both Janet and Dawn are not even up to the service line, so you can definitely take charge of that point. You're not allowing them to push you back. Instead, you're reversing the role and moving yourself in there. So it's really important that you're able to do this. The more that you're inside the lines, the better off you are. The more your opponents push you out into the green, either to the sidelines or behind the baseline, you're pretty much on the defensive at that point, and you're hoping that your opponents miss enough shots so you can win. And so kudos to Anita. All of you, there's so many balls you can take out of the air in this game, and the more you take, the better you'll be with those, okay? As a final note, all of you, just such a good job of moving up on balls, and I'm glad we started with all of you on the baseline, so we got plenty of these opportunities in. And keep in mind, you're not looking to hit every ground stroke, these high loopy balls. When you mix them up with your drives and you mix them up with your short balls, it's really a great way to keep your opponents off balance. So when you do hit this particular ball, that high deep ball, especially to someone's backhand, you really are in the driver's seat on the court and having a blast. Okay? Thanks, everybody. That was a great session. I appreciate your time. Bye-bye.